I have been in this position before many times, and so have you, and it feels awful. You're at a party, maybe you're twisting the stem of a wine glass in your hand, or you've got your plate of cheese and crackers, and you're talking with folks, and then you hear the wind-up. What's the difference between a Jewish guy and a blank? And your stomach turns to acid. You didn't see it coming. You don't want to deal with it. But what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? You're expected to laugh. That's what society is expecting. And so a lot of us muster a weak little, but it makes us feel horrible. And we don't forget it easily. We think about it later, and it makes us cringe. Another person comes over and says, I'm probably the least racist guy out there, but... And they launch. And you cringe. What do you do next? What do you do when you're in that situation? You would think we would know what to do by now, because this started when we were kids. It started on the playground. 2 kids were ganging up on another kid. And they would try to bring you into it. Hey, don't you think this kid is a loser? And you had to choose in that moment. Am I going to defend the person I like? Or am I going to give in to the people I fear? These are the moments that make us cringe. Some of them are long, long ago. They're old memories, but they don't go away, do they? When you think of the kid who wound up having a difficult life in adulthood, and you remember being part of the problem on the playground, it just makes you cringe. And one of the things that we're learning from the gospel today, a really hard gospel, you've got to admit, is that we are not meant to feel peace in moments like that. We're not supposed to feel peaceful. We've been designed by our Maker to cringe when things like that happen. We are designed to shudder inside. We are not supposed to feel comfortable with that. We are not supposed to make friends with that. We're not supposed to make friends with ugly or vulgar or intolerant things that are said. We're not supposed to make friends with that. There's a reason why our souls are shuddering. They want to get away from that. They want division from that. They don't want to be near it. Jesus says, I came to bring separation. I came to bring division. You're not supposed to make friends with that. And if peace means saying yes to that, it's not really peace. And I don't want it, because I know that I've already got enough things from the past that if I think about them, make me cringe. And I don't even have a spouse. I would imagine that if you have a spouse and they bring it up, it must be horrible. Remember the time that you said that to that guy? Remember the time you laughed at that joke and then that, oof. So we recoil from hearing Jesus say, I came to bring division, because our lives are full of it right now. But our lives are filled with division coming from the wrong place. There are a few people out there who are going to mistakenly leave Mass today thinking that what Jesus told them in this gospel is to say their opinion just a little bit louder and to more people. And if they don't like it, they know where the door is. That's not what he's saying. And your soul knows that's not what he's saying. There are more than enough people out there that would love to have you listen all day to their opinions. And they'll use a volume that is shrill. And the world doesn't need more of it. What he's telling us today is something important and something subtle. We could misunderstand what he's saying. But you know that sharing your opinion more loudly and to more people and causing division and not caring what happens, that's not what he's saying. And it would be a terrible mistake to go out with that error and think we're pleasing Jesus that way. So he gives us a couple of rules in Scripture that can help us put this gospel into action. And I'm going to share two of them today. Rule number one is that if you're going to speak up, if you're going to be the skunk at the garden party, make sure it's not an opinion. Make sure it's not something that's just an opinion. Too many divisions are caused over opinions. It should never be over politics or something going on in current events that you tell everybody where to go. That's not the kind of thing Jesus is asking about today. We've got to make sure that if we're going to speak up, it's about someone's dignity. It's about defending someone whose dignity is at risk, or a group of people whose dignity is at risk. Because opinions are not stable enough. They change. I can tell you there are things that I believed 10 years ago that I don't believe anymore, because I either got more information or I realized that there was some kind of like partial truth that was there that wasn't all the way, or I've met too many people since then in that position to have made those conclusions that I made. It can't be our opinions that we're defending. We have to be defending the dignity of other people, because we can have a lot of opinions. And they might come from a lot of different places. We might be influenced by a source that we think is unbiased, but isn't. But every single one of us knows that if somebody says, "What's the difference between a Jew and a blank?" That's not our opinion that that's wrong. It's our soul. It's imprinted in our soul that that is wrong. That's why we shudder. There are some people who have distanced themselves from their conscience so that they can make peace with that. And Jesus says, I didn't come to bring that kind of peace. I came to divide you from that. That is not going to serve you. So he's telling us peace is not the same thing as the absence of conflict. Peace is sometimes not the same thing as keeping your mouth shut. Because there can't be peace if someone says something ugly or hateful or vulgar. There can't be peace then. Because if you say nothing, they'll go off feeling peace. They'll be pleased as punch with themselves. And you won't sleep that night. So where's the peace? There won't be peace. It's not an option to have peace once that's happened, once the horse is out of the barn. So once that happens, we're required by the stirring in our soul and our love of peace to say, I don't think that's funny, or I don't think it's fair, or I think there's other opinions on that, or I think I need to go over here. I've seen people even say, new topic, please. It makes you feel a little jarred for about 10 seconds, but then that person gets to sleep at night. I have a friend who just went through a conflict like this past week. She's a teacher in a school in another state. And she was telling me that she was having a conflict with a colleague about a job description. They were trying to figure out this task that they were talking about, whose job description does it fall under? Mine or yours? They disagreed about that, and they were trying to come to a solution. But she said the other teacher ended the conversation abruptly and went into somebody else's room. She found out later that when she went into that room, she tried to get that teacher on her side. She tried to give her side of the story and say, listen to what happened and listen to what she thinks. And the other teacher would have none of it, because she knew about rule number 2. Rule number 2 is defend whoever is absent. When someone is not there, do not let someone else badmouth them to you. because there's nothing that's going to come from that. There's no solution that'll be found because you're getting a one-sided version of the situation. We can't let someone who's present bash someone who's absent and call it fair. We have to defend the one who is absent. Again, there's a reason why your soul feels uncomfortable, stirs, when somebody's getting bashed who isn't there, or a group of people who isn't present is getting bashed. That's not an opinion that that's wrong. That's imprinted on our souls. So a lot of times we'll start noticing patterns. And you know, if you got mugged every day that you were hanging out in a certain neighborhood, you would know that that was not a safe neighborhood, and you'd go somewhere else. And in our relationships, if we keep walking into these situations with the same person, we're probably in a bad neighborhood. If this keeps happening again and again, we keep having to say, new topic, please, or I don't feel comfortable with that, or, well, she's not here, so we shouldn't talk about her. It may be that that is not a relationship in alignment with our values. And we might stay there because we feel like we're going to be called judgmental if we leave, or we're going to be called stuck up. Oh, you think you're better than I am. But it is not thinking you're better to hold someone accountable, especially when these are not opinions. These are things that our souls know. So let us go forth knowing that Jesus calls us to a peace that is not of this world, but it is real. And we can't have it if we are unwilling to ever walk away from what is not okay. I came to give you peace the world cannot give, he said. And sometimes peace involves speaking up.